It wasn't terrorism. It was cold-blooded murder. 12 brilliant engineers butchered in a heartbeat, their deaths cloaked in a lie the world swallowed whole. President Ibrahim Traoré has exposed a truth so earth-shattering it could topple the very pillars of global power, a secret deliberately buried in the sands of Burkina Faso, worth killing for, worth dying for, and now impossible to keep hidden. Dare to face the truth the elites dread. It happened fast, without warning. The drone hovered silently above the vast emptiness near Burkina Faso's northern border, close to Mali, below. 12 young engineers carefully navigated toward their destination, known only as the Red Zone. President Ibrahim Traoré stood motionless, eyes fixed on the large screen illuminating his office. He rarely showed emotion openly, but tonight, tension gripped his heart, squeezing tighter with each passing second. Then, without a flash of warning, the darkness below erupted. A blinding burst of flame filled the drone's camera, followed by a deafening silence. Ibrahim's jaw tightened, his breath held firm, unyielding. 12 bright futures lost instantly. The official announcement came swiftly: a terrorist attack. Yet something felt deeply wrong to Ibrahim. He'd learned, through years in special forces, never to trust first impressions. He replayed the drone footage repeatedly, eyes narrowed with suspicion, frame by frame. Ibrahim searched desperately for answers, determined to find something, anything that others might overlook. There, just seconds before the explosion, a shadow moved in swiftly from the horizon. Ibrahim enhanced the image, and his pulse quickened with anger. A helicopter, black, unmarked, no flags, no numbers, just a ghost in the dark night, landing precisely at the doomed location moments before the blast. Ibrahim clenched his fist, knowing instantly that what he'd discovered wasn't merely an accident or random terror. This was deliberate sabotage. His heart burned with resolve. Sankara had died uncovering the truth. Ibrahim would not let history repeat itself. Not this time, not on his watch. The screen flickered, illuminating Ibrahim's face, sharp and determined beneath the dim glow. Silence enveloped the presidential office, a silence heavy with questions no one dared to ask. Outside, rain pounded relentlessly, mirroring Ibrahim's turmoil. 12 young engineers had perished, their lives extinguished in seconds. Each had dreams for Burkina Faso, dreams now buried beneath desert sands. Ibrahim turned slowly, facing a map pinned prominently on his office wall, a map inherited from his predecessors. He stared at the northern border. The cursed area circled ominously in red. His mind echoed sharply, one question louder than the rest. What secrets were worth killing for, and who was powerful enough to silence the truth? Tonight, Ibrahim vowed silently, the truth would no longer remain hidden. Rain battered the windows of Ouagadougou's presidential palace, echoing a relentless rhythm in Ibrahim Traoré's mind, alone in the dimly lit corridor. His footsteps resonated sharply against marble floors, each step deliberate, focused, determined. Tonight was different. Tonight. Something had pulled him toward the palace's forgotten archive, a place hidden away beneath layers of dust, neglected by past administrations. Ibrahim's gut tightened as he approached the heavy, concealed door, partially obscured behind faded portraits of leaders long departed. He carefully pushed the portraits aside, revealing a rusted safe embedded deeply in the wall. Decades of secrecy surrounded this vault until now. With practiced precision, Ibrahim cracked open the corroded lock. The safe door groaned open slowly, as though reluctant to surrender its secrets. Inside, among faded documents and brittle files, lay a worn leather cylinder, nearly crumbling under his touch. Ibrahim's pulse quickened instinctively. This was no ordinary artifact, it was intentionally hidden, deliberately forgotten, with steady hands. Ibrahim extracted the fragile contents, gently pulling free a silk paper map, delicate yet miraculously intact. He unfolded it cautiously beneath the weak glow of his flashlight. As the soft beam illuminated faint ink markings, his heart hammered fiercely in his chest. He recognized immediately that this wasn't just a forgotten map, it was a voice from the past, whispering urgently to the present. in that quiet moment, amid shadows and silence. Ibrahim knew instinctively that the legacy he now held was more powerful and more dangerous than anything Burkina Faso had seen since Sankara himself. In the quiet stillness of the hidden chamber, Ibrahim gently unfolded the yellowed silk paper. His breath steadied, pulse quickened, as he studied the faint handwriting that crossed decades to reach him. At the corner of the delicate map was a single cryptic line, written clearly in elegant French script, for those brave enough to say no, T.S. A chill surged through Ibrahim, gripping him fiercely, instantly. The initials struck like lightning Thomas Sankara. Ibrahim's thoughts flashed back sharply to Sankara, the revolutionary leader, a man unafraid to challenge those who sought to control Burkina Faso. Sankara, assassinated because he dared to demand true independence. Sankara, whose vision remained dangerously alive. His hands trembled slightly as the realization deepened. This map was more than paper and ink. It was a legacy, an unfinished battle handed down by a man who had paid with his life. Ibrahim's heart tightened painfully, yet purpose surged through him, clear and unwavering. He was no copy of Sankara, no mere echo, but tonight, destiny bound him irrevocably to the fallen president's dream. In that solitary moment, Ibrahim silently vowed to finish what Sankara had begun to confront the hidden forces, desperate to bury the truth beneath Burkina Faso's sands. He carefully refolded the map, eyes ablaze with resolve. The message from the dead was unmistakable. This legacy wasn't meant simply for remembrance, it demanded action. Sankara had died trying to speak truth. Ibrahim Traoré knew he must now live to ensure the truth was finally heard. Back in the silence of his office, Ibrahim carefully laid the silk paper map onto his desk. His fingers traced over delicate lines, each stroke revealing hidden truths deliberately concealed for decades. The map identified over 30 untapped resource locations scattered across Burkina Faso, gold deposits in the southwest, rare earth minerals in the east. But Ibrahim's gaze sharpened on a particular site marked vividly in red ink near the northern border with Mali. Red zone extreme caution uranium. Days. Those stark words sent a jolt down his spine. The weight of the revelation pressed heavily upon him. Uranium was power raw, volatile, capable of transforming nations, fueling wars, or bringing genuine independence. Ibrahim understood immediately why this had remained buried. He leaned back in his chair, eyes narrowing with suspicion. Sankara's cryptic message resonated in his thoughts, for those brave enough to say no. The map wasn't merely informative. It was a direct challenge, a call to action that demanded courage few possessed. His thoughts spiraled deeper, connecting dots previously overlooked. The sudden violence at the red zone, the shadowy helicopter, none of it was coincidental. Ibrahim sensed clearly that powerful interests would do anything to keep these truths from surfacing, inhaling sharply. Ibrahim felt his resolve solidify. He knew clearly now that his mission wasn't merely economic or political, it was existential. The map he held was both an opportunity and a warning to honor Sankara's vision. Ibrahim would need more than courage. He would need to confront an enemy willing to kill to hide the truth. The decision had been swift, decisive. Ibrahim hand-picked 12 of Burkina Faso's most talented young engineers, men and women driven by ambition, patriotism, and an unwavering belief in their nation's future. They were the ones he trusted to secretly investigate the area marked ominously as the Red Zone. They departed quietly at dawn, eager to unveil truths hidden beneath decades of secrecy. Ibrahim felt pride in their courage, yet an underlying anxiety tightened his chest. He understood clearly that each step they took was perilous yet necessary. Only 12 hours later, disaster struck. An explosion tore through the remote desert outpost, its thunderous impact echoing through Ibrahim's presidential quarters. The tragedy unfolded swiftly, leaving no survivors and no answers, only smoke, ash, and silence. The official statement labeled the incident a terrorist attack. But Ibrahim knew instinctively that wasn't the full story. Alone in his office, haunted by the loss, he reviewed the drone footage meticulously, his eyes sharp and critical, scanned each detail. Suddenly, his breath caught in his throat, barely visible in the grainy footage. A dark silhouette approached moments before the explosion, a helicopter, unmarked, without national insignia. Ibrahim's jaw clenched tightly, anger flaring within him like molten steel. This wasn't terrorism, it was deliberate sabotage, executed by forces determined to bury the truth beneath the sands. He rose from his seat, pacing slowly, deliberately. His heart ached bitterly for the 12 souls whose lives had been stolen not simply by an explosive device, but by powers hiding behind masks of deception. They were martyrs now, casualties of an invisible war waged over the sovereignty and freedom of their nation. Standing at the window, Ibrahim gazed fiercely into the darkening horizon. He knew clearly that the enemy wasn't distant or abstract, it was powerful, present, and ruthless. Yet, in that heavy, painful silence, Ibrahim's resolve crystallized like never before. He understood now, deeply and irrevocably, that the sacrifice of those 12 lives would not go unanswered. This was no longer simply about buried resources, it was about honor, justice, and the soul of Burkina Faso itself. The conference room hummed with uneasy silence. Cabinet members exchanged cautious glances, their eyes heavy with unspoken thoughts. President Ibrahim Traoré sat at the head of the long table, expression stern, gaze piercing. Across from him stood Paul Girard, a senior advisor known for his deep connections to European interests. Girard spoke deliberately, confidently, his voice smooth yet carrying an unsettling undertone. "We must publicly disclose these resources immediately," he urged. "International investors from Europe stand ready to help. Burkina Faso could transform overnight." Ibrahim studied Girard carefully, sensing the subtle pressure hidden behind his advisor's polished words. This was more than an economic suggestion, it was a quiet ultimatum. His voice, calm yet razor-sharp, cut through the room. And in exchange for what? Paul's sovereignty, independence, control over our own destiny. Girard paused, smiling coldly, a smile Ibrahim recognized instantly as dangerous. The tension thickened palpably around them. "Mr. President," Girard responded slowly, emphasizing each word, "the world moves quickly. If we hesitate, others will decide our future for us. We must align ourselves wisely." The air grew heavier still. Ibrahim felt a familiar fire burning within one he'd known all his life, an unyielding refusal to bow before pressure, hidden threats, or veiled manipulation. He understood clearly now. The battle he faced wasn't merely about hidden uranium or economic growth. It was about safeguarding Burkina Faso's soul, its freedom, dignity, and right to chart its own course. And he knew one thing with absolute certainty: Ibrahim Traoré would never surrender that right. A thick silence hung over the room, tension crackling like electricity through the air. Ibrahim leaned forward slightly, his piercing gaze locking onto Paul Girard. "Tell me, Paul," Ibrahim spoke slowly, deliberately, "are we truly discussing investment or surrendering control?" Girard's polished facade momentarily faltered, a flicker of irritation crossing his carefully controlled expression. Then he leaned forward as well, his voice dropping to a chilling whisper, icy, deliberate, unmistakably threatening. "You think you're different from Sankara, Mr. President," he said, eyes narrowing. "You're bold, idealistic, admirable qualities, but dangerous. Remember, Sankara believed the same as you, and all it took was one phone call, one moment, and he vanished." A shiver of fury surged through Ibrahim's veins. The audacity, the blatant threat, it ignited a fire deep within him, fierce and uncompromising. Yet, outwardly, Ibrahim remained composed, steady, unwavering. Girard leaned back calmly, his face returning to its polished neutrality, his eyes challenging Ibrahim with silent contempt. In that instant, Ibrahim grasped clearly how deep the poison ran. This confrontation was no mere debate. It was a chilling echo of the past, a stark warning aimed directly at him. But Ibrahim Traoré had already chosen his path, and threats would never make him waver. Ibrahim sat alone in his dimly lit office. Gerard's icy warning echoing relentlessly in his mind. He felt a heaviness settle deeply in his chest, not from fear, but from bitter realization. History was repeating itself, and the enemy wasn't hidden in distant shadows. It sat across from him daily, smiling and plotting behind masks of loyalty. Memories of Sankara flashed vividly before Ibrahim, a visionary leader betrayed by those closest to him, silenced because he dared to dream too boldly. The bitter taste of betrayal burned within Ibrahim, fueling a new determination. He understood clearly now this was more than personal. The forces opposing him didn't just want control, they aimed to break Burkina Faso's spirit, to keep it forever dependent and weak. But Ibrahim Traoré was no Sankara clone. He would learn from the past, ensuring history did not end the same way again. His resolve hardened into steel. He rose slowly, eyes fixed with quiet intensity. If betrayal had infected his cabinet, it was time to remove the poison, swiftly and decisively. Ibrahim knew the cost of this fight, but he also knew the cost of not fighting was far greater. The future demanded courage, and Ibrahim would not fail. Midnight cloaked the presidential palace in heavy darkness. Outside, fierce rain lashed relentlessly against glass windows, muffling every sound except one. A faint creak echoed softly down the hallway, barely audible. Ibrahim's eyes snapped open instantly, trained instincts alerting him before his conscious mind could fully grasp the danger. He lay perfectly still, heart thumping, senses heightened to razor-sharp clarity. Another soft step. Careful, measured, approaching steadily. A shadow moved silently beneath his doorway. Ibrahim's muscles tightened, controlled, coiled. Years of special forces training surged through him like adrenaline, preparing him silently for what was about to happen. The door handle turned slowly. Ibrahim's breathing steadied, utterly silent. As he blended seamlessly with the darkness around him, a man stepped carefully into the room masked, dressed entirely in black, movements precise, professional. This was no common thief. This intruder was trained, deadly, here on a singular mission. Ibrahim waited for the perfect moment, allowing the attacker to move further into the room, confident in his stealth. Then with explosive force, Ibrahim sprang forward from the shadows, tackling the intruder to the floor. Furniture crashed, shattering the silence, sending echoes through the dark palace corridors. Pinned beneath Ibrahim's iron grip, the assassin struggled fiercely but in vain. Ibrahim felt fury burn through him, a righteous anger, a determination to protect his country at all costs. Tonight, Ibrahim Traoré would not be a victim. Tonight, he would show those lurking in darkness the strength and resilience of a leader ready to fight back. The intruder fought violently, twisting and striking desperately beneath Ibrahim's powerful grasp. Yet Ibrahim moved swiftly, precise and calculated, each maneuver deeply ingrained from years of elite training. The room filled with sharp breaths, grunts of exertion, and the chaotic noise of shattered glass and overturned furniture. Ibrahim's movements were fierce yet controlled, driven not by anger alone, but by a determination to confront those who sought to silence the truth. In a rapid, decisive motion, Ibrahim locked the assassin's arm behind him, pinning him firmly. The attacker gasped sharply in pain, strength fading under Ibrahim's relentless force. Adrenaline surged through Ibrahim's veins, but clarity remained sharp, unyielding. This was not just personal defense. It was a message to his hidden enemies. Ibrahim Traoré was no easy prey. Tonight marked a turning point. Ibrahim would no longer merely react. From now on, he would be the one taking control, fighting fiercely for justice. Pinned and defeated, the assassin's breath grew ragged beneath Ibrahim's unyielding grip. Yet in a final act of defiance, he managed a bitter, strained whisper. The map should never have existed. Ibrahim's heart froze, the chilling weight of those words gripping him fiercely. Before he could question further, the attacker's body shuddered violently. He'd taken poison, silencing himself forever. The room fell silent. Ibrahim left alone amidst shattered glass and shadows. But within him, a fire raged. The assassin's final message had made one thing abundantly clear. The enemy would stop at nothing to bury the truth, but Ibrahim would fight harder to expose it. Morning sunlight spilled gently into the quiet courtyard. illuminating Ibrahim's determined expression as he approached a modest home nestled on the outskirts of Ouagadougou. Waiting calmly at the doorway stood Khadija, an elderly yet resilient woman whose piercing eyes still held fire eyes that had seen too much and kept silent too long. Khadija had worked closely with Thomas Sankara, mapping out Burkina Faso's hidden treasures decades before. Ibrahim approached respectfully, sensing the weight of history carried within her quiet presence, inside the humble home, seated beside stacks of worn documents. Khadija spoke quietly but clearly. She recounted Sankara's courageous plan to reveal the truth on Independence Day, a truth powerful enough to free Burkina Faso from external chains forever. But he never got that chance, she said gravely, her voice tinged with decades of sorrow. They silenced him just days before. Ibrahim listened intently, each word driving deeper into his heart. Khadija's testimony confirmed everything he suspected. History was repeating itself, dangerously close to its tragic past. Yet as their conversation continued, Ibrahim felt an unwavering sense of clarity emerge within him. He was not merely uncovering secrets from history, he was continuing a battle that had been halted unjustly. Looking into Khadija's eyes, he saw trust, hope, and urgency. This was not simply Sankara's dream anymore, it had become his responsibility. Khadija's revelations had strengthened Ibrahim's resolve, reminding him clearly of the stakes involved. Sankara's mission was unfinished, but Ibrahim was ready now, more determined than ever, to complete it. As Ibrahim stepped outside Khadija's home, the harsh sunlight seemed to sharpen his clarity. The echoes of Sankara's unfinished revolution resonated deeply within him, a powerful reminder of both promise and peril. Walking slowly toward his vehicle, Ibrahim's thoughts became vividly clear. Sankara had believed passionately in freedom and justice, only to be betrayed by those closest to him, men blinded by greed, ambition, and the influence of foreign powers. Ibrahim recognized the unmistakable parallels, the threats, the hidden enemies, the subtle pressures designed to silence bold voices. He felt the weight of history pressing down upon him heavily, like a storm gathering on the horizon. Yet Ibrahim felt no fear, only unwavering resolve. Unlike Sankara, he now stood forewarned, armed with the painful lessons of the past. He understood clearly that he must act swiftly, decisively, and strategically to break this cycle of betrayal and suppression. He paused, turning briefly to look back toward Khadija, who stood silently watching him from her doorway. Her gaze met his, strong, steady, full of quiet encouragement and profound trust. In that moment, Ibrahim knew that he carried not just Sankara's dream, but the hopes of every Burkinabe who yearned to live in true independence. As he entered his car, determination radiated through him. Ibrahim Traoré had no illusions, he knew clearly the risks ahead. But this time, history would not repeat itself. He would ensure it changed for the better, for justice, and for the future of Burkina Faso. The stadium in Ouagadougou overflowed with people, a vast sea of solemn faces reflecting grief, anger, and defiant pride at its center. 12 coffins draped proudly with Burkina Faso's national flag rested silently, symbols of sacrifice and stolen futures. President Ibrahim Traoré stood tall, his presence commanding yet deeply compassionate. Behind him, a giant flag fluttered gently, each wave a quiet tribute to the fallen engineers who had given everything in search of truth. A profound silence blanketed the crowd, broken only by the faint rustle of flags in the breeze. Thousands of eyes fixed upon Ibrahim, awaiting his words with intensity born of heartbreak and hope. In Ibrahim's hand was the fragile map, the silk paper legacy entrusted by Thomas Sankara himself. Its presence electrified the air, a tangible connection bridging past struggles and present sacrifices. His gaze swept across the crowd, absorbing their pain, their resilience, their unwavering resolve. Ibrahim understood deeply that today's memorial was more than a commemoration. It was a collective declaration, a refusal to bow to intimidation or fear. As he prepared to speak, the weight of history pressed firmly yet reassuringly upon his shoulders. Ibrahim felt no fear, only determination and clarity. Today, standing before the grieving yet united nation. Ibrahim knew his duty clearly: honor those lost, confront injustice, and publicly affirm the courage to face whatever came next. The silence tightened expectantly. Ibrahim took a deep breath, ready to speak words that would forever define Burkina Faso's future. Ibrahim stood before the nation, the stadium echoing with a powerful, anticipatory silence. The 12 flag-draped coffins behind him served as stark reminders of the ultimate price already paid, holding the fragile silk paper map firmly. Ibrahim spoke calmly but forcefully, his voice resonating deeply with unwavering conviction. Thomas Sankara was killed because he dared to expose the truth. Ibrahim began steadily, each word striking the hearts of thousands. 12 brave souls have now joined him silenced because they too sought truth and justice for Burkina Faso. He paused briefly, allowing the weight of their sacrifice to settle into the minds and souls of those present. The crowd remained utterly still, absorbing every word, every emotion. But let me be clear, Ibrahim continued, his tone sharpening with fierce resolve. We will not be intimidated. Our courage will not falter. The truth they feared, the truth they killed for, will no longer remain buried beneath the sands. The stadium erupted spontaneously. Applause mingled with fierce pride. Ibrahim raised the map high above him, its delicate edges trembling gently in the breeze, yet symbolizing a strength more powerful than any threat. Tonight, we honor those we have lost, not by mourning alone, but by committing ourselves fully to their cause. If defending our land, our dignity, and our right to independence requires my life, then let mine be the first. The applause surged again, louder, fiercer, filled with defiance and pride. Ibrahim lowered the map slowly, his eyes blazing with determination as he scanned the sea of faces, faces of hope, strength, unity. Today marked a turning point. Ibrahim had chosen a path clear and irrevocable. He was no longer simply fighting for truth, he was leading a nation toward a future free of fear. And Burkina Faso stood ready to follow him, unyielding and united, following his powerful speech. Ibrahim moved forward deliberately, stepping toward a glass podium at the front of the stage. The silk paper map, now carefully preserved, was gently placed beneath protective glass, illuminated softly for the entire nation to see clearly beneath it. An inscription glowed prominently, etched permanently, "You can kill a man, but you cannot kill a dream." The crowd watched silently, deeply moved by the symbolism. It was no longer merely a map, it was a promise, a legacy of courage and unbreakable resolve passed down from Sankara to Ibrahim, now entrusted to every citizen of Burkina Faso. Ibrahim stepped back slowly, gaze lingering on the powerful words beneath the glass. He felt pride, resolve, and responsibility intertwined fiercely within him. Sankara's vision lived on, but now, it was a vision that belonged to every person in this stadium, every person in the nation. Together, they would ensure it endured forever. Nightfall descended over Ouagadougou, cloaking the city in darkness and silence. Ibrahim sat quietly in the back seat of his armored vehicle, rain streaking relentlessly down the tinted glass. Outside, streetlights flickered faintly, illuminating empty streets, yet Ibrahim sensed clearly he was not alone. In the distance behind him, headlights pierced the night, tracing a careful, deliberate path. He recognized instinctively that these vehicles were not ordinary citizens, they were shadows, watching closely, waiting for a sign of weakness. Ibrahim's jaw tightened, his eyes sharp, unyielding. He knew clearly the path he had chosen. Exposing the truth meant enemies would multiply, threats would deepen, and dangers would become ever-present. Yet, Ibrahim felt no regret, no fear. Only a fierce determination burned within him, a resolve stronger than steel. He would face whatever shadows emerged from the darkness, because the future of Burkina Faso depended on courage, clarity, and sacrifice. As the vehicle moved steadily through the rain-drenched streets, Ibrahim's thoughts sharpened into unwavering clarity. Tonight had set events in motion, events that would inevitably define his presidency and the destiny of his nation. He leaned back slightly, the rhythm of the rain echoing his contemplation. Ibrahim knew that truth carried consequences. It often meant isolation, sacrifice, and relentless battles against hidden powers. Yet, it also meant freedom, dignity, and hope. In the deep stillness of that moment, Ibrahim reflected upon the choice he had made to stand firmly, unyielding in the face of threats, intimidation, and danger. He knew clearly what lay ahead, but fear did not guide him, only purpose. As the headlights behind him faded into darkness, Ibrahim silently posed a question, not just to himself, but to everyone who would hear his story. If you held the truth and defending it meant confronting the world, would you have the courage to stand firm? Thank you all for watching this video. Please comment and let me know what you think about this story. Please like and subscribe to watch more great content on my channel. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more inspiring stories of personal growth and empowerment.